Alright, the rear spring bushings are installed. I've got the gas tank back in the car, and so everything's ready now. I've got everything set to start reassembling, installing the rear axle. There's the rear axle. Like I said, that's a Model 44 331 ratio twin traction. Has the brakes that I redid for this car on it. They're covered up just to make sure it doesn't rain on them, keep them clean. These are a set of springs. They are actually heavy-duty station wagon springs, and they're very, very similar to the full package, the Lark full package, high-performance package springs. The number of leaves, the thicknesses, the lengths, and things like that. Some differences, but they're pretty close. So I had these, so I'm going to try these out. Paul Johnson up in Virginia used a set of these on his '64 Daytona convertible and said they really were nice. I've got everything ready. Here are the spring plates and how to use different ones, because the Model 44, the whole pattern is different because of the larger axle. These have the brackets for the sway bar. I am going to put a Super Lark sway bar on this. I've got some good used insulator pads, cleaned up, painted the shackles, got new bolts for the shackles, got correct U-bolts, correct length. Because this is a heavy-duty spring, it takes a longer U-bolt, so I got those. The bolts for the front spring hangers were really good. I cleaned them up, shot them with a coat of zinc, and they're ready. I'm using the locking nuts on the spring bolts instead of the slotted nuts like are stock. These locking nuts are better. One thing to remember is use anti-seize on these bolts. Not as much the threads, but where the bolt goes through the sleeves on the bushing. So you don't want the bolt rusting to the bushing, which is the sleeve in the bushing, which is what happened on some of the bolts and bushings on this car. So we've got everything ready. We're going to go ahead and get started, get the front, get the springs attached at the front, and get the rear end moved under and slid up on the spring so I can put the U-bolts on loosely and jack up the springs, get the shackles on. So we'll check in here in a little while in progress. Alright, update. This is how I left it last night, Saturday night. I did get the springs bolted up in the front, and I wrestled the rear axle up onto the springs, which, believe me, is not easy when you're doing it yourself. A little bit on each side, about 6 inches at a time, but it is up there, and I'm getting ready to start putting the spring hangers and the U-bolts on. I started that side last night, but decided it was time to go in and get a shower. But we'll get that today. I did want to mention that I'm using new long nuts, which are correct for these U-bolts, and external lock washers. And I'm going to try to use these hardened flat washers, which are made for U-bolts also. We'll have to see if I've got enough length or not, but I like to use those. So again, never seize, especially on the bolts where they go through the bushings. So let's get to it.